Today we're covering the 1992 friendly between Graham Taylor's England and Michel Platini's France, as both sides look to gain an advantage before Euro 92. We'll also be looking at the appointment of Mr. Taylor into his impossible job.
Time can do. Baby, you mean everything to me.
That's Mr. Taylor to you.
Always Mr. Taylor to us. Oh, our lovely Graham.
He's back.
I can imagine him saying that when he walks into a room. Like, all right, guys. We always give, actually, Taylor and Keegan the same voice.
Yeah. Well, we're going a layer deeper into Taylor. Well, we can't get any deeper than we did the first time, but we're revisiting him.
Yeah.
So the more we revisit each manager, they may distinguish themselves from one another.
Maybe. We just go happy, silly northerner, even though I don't even know where Taylor's from, actually.
No offence to Northerners. He's got to be... Is he a southerner, Graham Taylor?
Maybe. Again, he's so, like, associated with just varied... Because I think he was Wolves manager, he was Villa manager, obviously Watford.
Nottinghamshire.
Oh, there you go. So he's a bit of a Midlander then, just about.
Yeah. Brilliant. Today's game, as we mentioned, is a friendly between Graham Taylor's England and Michel Platini's France. We're going all the way back to not Euro 1992, but just 1992, the year.
Yeah.
Nick, it's the time capsule. What else happened in not Euro 92, in the year 1992? It's going to be a good show.
Yeah. We're both ready.
We're both agreed on our time capsule for this one. So
We have.
You can introduce it.
Yes, 1992, it is the birth of the Premier League. The Carling Premiership. It may have just been the Premiership in the first year. I couldn't find the first logo. The first one I had was of the sad lion Carling Premiership logo.
The FA Carling Premiership.
Yeah, they are in association with it, the Football Association. So, yeah, we're putting that in this time round.
It's too overpowering not to... What am I going to put in?
Yeah, it would just make whatever you're putting in, just like it would boot it off the television and send it down the football pyramid, wouldn't it?
Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves.
Was that a thing in 1992?
I think that must have been earlier because... Actually, I don't know. Anyway, it would pale in significance and give us a lot less entertainment value. So technically on our desert island with our time capsule, when the world has ended but us two survive with this, we can watch every Prem game.
Yeah, I think that's it. We've just got the whole back catalogue for us to just start to enjoy. And, I'll be watching the first half. I'll tell you that first. I'm bags in that. That's going over to my side of the rock, that is.
Are we living like that? I'm surely we'd just be, well, look.
We've got to have some separation.
Yeah, some separation. But, like, we'd enjoy things like watching the football together. Why would you go, I'm taking the good Prem?
Yeah.
And leave me with the bad one?
I'll
see how this is going.
Well, it's just mine then, isn't it?
You know what's going to be in time capsule next time from me? Weapons. That are mine.
What weapons were invented in whatever the year it is we're doing next?
Flipping heck. All right then. Why the Premier League? Seems silly to ask, but why is it worthy of a place in the time capsule?
It changed English football forever, really. We find English football in its bleakest period, really, in the 80s. The hope of English dominance in the European Cup in the early 80s had evaporated when the Heysel disaster occurred, and English clubs were banned for 5 years.
Why? I don't really know that much about it, so why did the Heysel disaster dash the hopes of English dominance? Was it a European ban?
So it was a European final. Juventus played Liverpool, and there was fan altercation essentially, and it was seen as the English fans that were the problem of what happened. So it was the English clubs who were banned for 5 years in that period as well. So you can't really imagine no English teams being in the European Cup or European competition now, because what happens is the players don't want to play in a league that you can't play in European football in. Like you see so much these days of, I'm not playing in the Champions League. I'm going to leave because I want to find something else. I want to play European competition. So imagine that to a whole league where they just go, you're gone in that period. And it affects everything really with, the players don't want to play in that league at that point. You've got the rise of hooliganism, kind of the lower tendencies in unsafe stadiums, and they all contribute to, a lot of things. And then you kind of culminates in Hillsborough disaster as well. And it's just like something's got to change here. This can't be the game that, you know, the nation loves and hasn't really taken fully to heart as it would do when the Premier League comes in and you get years later. But now it's like, well, we've got to save our game at this point.
Wow. I thought it would, to be honest, I didn't know any of this. I thought it would be more just like a commercial opportunity.
Oh, it's a money grab.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. It's like, it's both. It can be both things.
It's rare, though, to get a mix between a rescue mission and a cash-in
Yeah.
in one.
Well, it's been kind of like bubbling around and rumoured for years. So after England's 1990 World Cup campaign was seen as an opportunity to finally launch this long-awaited breakaway from the Football League, there was a meeting between Greg Dyke, the head of London Weekend Television, which would become ITV, met with the representatives of the Big Five league clubs. So there's Arsenal, Everton, Liverpool, Manchester United, and Spurs.
There's your big five.
Yeah, forever the Big Five.
Forever the big five. That cannot be changed.
that's in stone. That is on television. So you got though they had a meeting and they kind of said, yeah, it's got to be this period now. And the difference between the Premier League and the Football League would be the Premier League would split the money between the active clubs in that division, unlike the Football League where the money is shared throughout the divisions and is the football pyramid in a way as well. So they'll keep their own money between the 20 clubs or however many is going to be in there. And then when you get relegated, you get parachute payments and so on. So your club doesn't totally go down. But yeah, it was agreed and it was kind of pushed through because the FA had a really bad relationship with the Football League. I didn't quite figure out why, but I guess it's two big warring bodies and the chance to minimize that with, okay, we've only got to really psych off 20 clubs instead. You've got it there.
It's rare for the FA to actually have a good relationship with anyone, it would seem. So it's unsurprising that they didn't really get on with the Football League.
Yeah, their whole don't really like our own manager, our own fans, our own players, the children who play the game, McDonald's at their own random points as well, just like everyone.
Yeah. So the Premier League is born. B Sky B. Do they still go by the name B Sky B?
I don't know what the company's house says, but I imagine I think it may still be classed as that of the kind of the television conglomerate empire, whatever it's going to be.
Yeah, they won the rights to show the new Premier League, and the league was announced on the 27th of May 1992. The first season would start in August the following season. So, and as you say, kind of forever changed from there. It's impossible to imagine English football without the Premier League, the Carling Premiership, whatever you want to call it. Just celebrated its 30th birthday, isn't it? Or
it's this year, isn't it? Yeah, I think it was on the Monday Night Football that they'd done. It must have been the Monday Night Football was the first games because I think the first televised game was Forest v Liverpool, and I think Teddy Sheringham scored the first televised goal for Nottingham Forest as well. So that was a big moment. I think Brian Deane got the first goal for Sheffield United against Manchester United as well. So lots of like marks at that point. But yeah, I guess I didn't even think it was 30 years. I think it's all on the logos on like the sports stuff when you get it in because they've moved slightly how the score is now and it's all got 30 on it all the time.
I saw a video of Gary Neville saying that Sergio Aguero's title-winning goal was the most iconic moment of the Premier League era.
I mean, it's not really, you can't really dispute it, but also Gary Neville just loves hurting himself, doesn't he? With all these things of just I've got to be on every Man City and every Liverpool game, and I've just got to keep telling myself how good they are. Yeah. And I just can never be happy.
He was kind of like, it would take a big man to say this, but
I know, he does that a lot.
Big man.
I mean, I can't be biased, clearly. Yeah. I've definitely not got a problem with Manchester United where I try and over-egg, my allegiances the other way into the point where really I shouldn't be on the games.
Oh.
I think he goes way overboard some of the times.
Man United have gone through a very rough period recently.
Look, they are beyond awful. I'm not saying they're not, but it's like I think I heard someone say the other day, like every time there's a goal against United, you just hear him in the background, I'm not happy.
No.
Although I did see he did an episode of The Overlap the other day with Jeff Shreves, and it was just him angrily listing his best things on a roast dinner.
Yeah.
It was just really doing hand signals about this. It's just, for God, they're not 3-0 down. Calm down. Roast dinners are winning.
So 30 years after the inception, you've got Gary Neville telling off roast dinners, and roast dinners are top of the table as we stand. Before we move on, I would like to ask everybody to put the hands in the pockets. Yeah, we're all in this together. You don't actually have to put your hands in your pockets if you're still listening. Don't. There's no money going to be changed. But if you can leave us a 5-star review on whatever platform you're listening to, and of course you can get in touch with the show via email, isthisenglandpod@gmail.com, or get in touch on social media at @isthis_England.
We had a nice review from a Mr. B. Ryan Adams, didn't we, actually?
Yeah, that was a nice one. I think he's. We shouldn't say. We said something like the lads come across as really great blokes or
Something like that. If he'd have just put real good football men, we'd have had to have really like raised our eyebrows. Like, okay, this is dangerous.
B. Ryan Adams.
Yeah, I've asked a few friends if it's them. No one's put their hands up yet. So,
Do you think it's Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves song?
oh yeah,
Brian Adams
under a pseudonym.
under a pseudonym. They'll never guess. They'll never guess it's me,
He gave us 5 stars though.
Mr. B. Adams. What's your first name, Mr. Adams? Brian.
Just B.
Yeah, keep them coming.
Yeah.
B. Ryan Adams. B. Ryan May.
Yeah.
B. Ryan Blessed. Any of them.
Just be good and be doing it.
Johnny B giving us 5 stars.
There we go.
There we go. Why this game then? Why did we decide to cover this game? I think we were looking together through the schedule and thinking, where do we need to go next in terms of eras? We like to jump all over the place. And I think at this point, I am particularly enjoying, we're about 25, 24, I think this is episode 24. There's little offshoots coming off here and there now. I want us to go back and continue Italian 90 slowly, like we did with 2010, or are still doing with 2010.
Yeah.
There's maybe some Sven stuff that we can go back to as well. And
that well will never end. That well is going to go on. I got you there first.
well done. Well done. But the Taylor era is one we want to create a little, think of it like sort of branches on a tree, you know? And I want this to be a strong, healthy branch. We covered so much of his reign in such depth with the Impossible Job that moved beyond football. But there was a time before that, and nobody really goes into the England job with a feeling of pure pessimism. Maybe Steve McLaren. But there's always a bit of hope, isn't there?
I think so, yeah.
Even with McLaren, it would have been, well, Sven, you know, he'll just pick up where Sven's left off, but something new. And look at what he did with Man United and other clubs.
As the assistant, yeah.
And he's back as the assistant now. There was a time before The Impossible Job, and I wanted us to take a look at it. I think this was one of my picks, hence me detailing this segment of the show.
Definitely.
It can't have been that bad forever.
No.
It can't have all been a man on the brink of suicide.
Yeah, it can't always have been the press hate you, the turnip, all that kind of stuff. There must have been a reason why this man, this very capable football manager, was put in charge of the England team, really, and this England team in particular.
Exactly. I don't think The Impossible Job covered that. It was very much, you're in the thick of it now.
I'm almost certain the Impossible Job starts with England conceding a goal.
Yep.
It's just an absolute ripper from, well, I think it starts with him already being sacked. And he's at home just going like, no, I'm not going to retire. I'm going to carry on.
Yeah.
And then it's just like England concede a goal to Norway, which is a ridiculously brilliant goal.
It's also a chance for us to see a Premier League great in the shape of Eric Cantona.
He features today, doesn't he?
We've seen huge players come up against England, but not many have had the impact we would have expected. Has there been like this is an icon and a legend? Maybe Puskás.
Puskás would be up there with the rest of his team. I think we've just done Portugal, so Rui Costa and Figo.
Figo was,
They were both really good in the game we did there. There'll definitely be others, but I think off the top of my head, I think, it'd be interesting to get a few more. Actually, they were great against England that day. The one that you always think about would be Maradona or something from '86, which is clearly that's a game that's on the long list. It's just when we decided to pull that out. Zlatan's a good one, actually. I think we did so close. We came within inches of Zlatan for the Brazil game, didn't we? And it's like we could do that at any point, really.
Who was the manager name? Was it Roy?
Oh, it was Roy, Roy Hodgson.
Yeah,
That's such a bad England team when you look at it. I've kind of not told you about it because I've looked at it since, and I mean, like, wow, these people played for England, and it's like so many of like first cap, last cap.
Yeah, we've got just on the branches of the tree thing once more. I think that there aren't many eras we haven't dipped our toe into, and maybe we should do a little poll as to who, because I think McLaren's one.
Venables we've not touched yet.
McLaren v Venables.
Yeah,
there you go. Look out for it on Instagram.
I wonder who's more popular.
Let's have a look at the state of football before we go into the build-up for the game. As we mentioned, we're in the final season of the old First Division. On the day of the game, today's game, Manchester United are top as they look to end their 25-year wait for a league title. They're 1 point ahead of title rival Leeds, with Leeds having a game in hand. That game in hand does help Leeds because
Yeah.
Man United's league title would have to wait until the following season. Fixture congestions and injury to their key man, Brian Robson, meant that Leeds managed to leapfrog United and take the title by 4 points in the end. It was their final league title to date. It's been a bit of a roller coaster since then.
Yeah.
Have they really ever been in big contention? Did they finish second once, didn't they?
I think they finished third in 2000 because I think they were they were Manchester United's title rivals in 99 2000. I think they just imploded towards the end of the season. And you know, when it's just like Arsenal somehow, like you blip a team. I think Arsenal did it to Spurs years ago because it was Leicester and Spurs were both going for the league. And it was like a 2-horse race. And on the last day, Spurs lost them at like 6-1 to Newcastle. And Arsenal just went, oh, that's us in second then.
Yoink.
Yeah.
So Leeds would end up winning the league by 4 points, and some of the key players in that team: Gary Speed, David Batty, Gary McAllister, Gordon Strachan, and Eric Cantona. So we're looking at a pre-Manchester United Eric Cantona, pre-Premier League Eric Cantona.
Yeah. So the day of this game is like February of '92. So the Premier League's not really been announced yet either. It's just bubbling away and been agreed, and no one knows it's coming. So it's just like, well, this is fine. What we're doing here now, we're just carrying on with our game as it is. But there's a big beast around the corner.
Mention of David Batty there.
Yeah.
Have you seen that video of Alan Shearer and Micah Richards talking through their Premier League, like players they've played with?
Okay.
11.
I don't think I have, no.
And you've got, I think, Micah Richards midfield is Yaya Toure and David Silva.
Right.
And then he cuts to Alan Shearer and he goes, well, mine's, I think it's David Batty and Rob Lee. And Micah Richards just goes, it's rude. It's rude. And Alan Shearer's like, they're good players. You can't do that. And he just keeps laughing at him. Oh my God.
I mean, I know who I'd want in a fight. David Batty is going to hit anybody, isn't he? Just kick him in the jaw.
Yeah. Oh, God, that just come to me. I'll send you the clip later.
Yeah, definitely.
9 of the top scorers in the division were English.
Yes.
So the first division.
Well done, lads.
Real quiz.
Yeah.
The first division went out as it should with Englishmen whacking them in.
9 out of the 10, anyway.
Do you know who the exception was?
It was Brian McClare from Scotland and Manchester United. So still counting it in there. We haven't got any foreign muck in here. It's still on this island, is what we're counting the goals from.
The top man was Ian Wright. Is that correct?
Yeah, Ian Wright with 29 goals, and he would finish 1 ahead of Gary Lineker in the charts, a full 10 ahead of their nearest contenders. So it really is them two out on their own in the race for the Golden Boot here.
Oh, G. Taylor's buzzing, isn't he?
Yeah, both of those two in there at different ends of their careers. Let's just say again,
a lot of squad depth up front there. Really, if you think 9 of the top 10 scorers in the league are English.
Yeah, you'd imagine so. Definitely, I think.
You'd imagine that would be reflected in some form of upcoming qualification tournaments. Or just generally his reign.
It's almost like he's got too many options at points, isn't it? I think you'd have had John Barnes around then. Peter Beardsley's still playing really well at that point too. I think Alan Shearer is about to break onto the scene as well.
Yeah.
So you have got some good forward options there. It's just that you just got to somehow get them all in the one team, haven't you?
Yeah. But I guess the lack of English, the lack of non-English players in that top scoring chart is more a sign of lack of non-English players playing in England, as opposed to the English players just being way better than their foreign counterparts.
Yeah, this isn't like we've got the best of the best over here. They're all still over in Italy and Spain and all the other countries that, you get paid properly and all this other stuff too. And it's a nicer place to live. But yeah, we're not quite into the big Premier League money influx yet. We still got a long way to go. Yeah, but it will start to happen in the next coming years. You'll get the best of the best coming over at points.
Yeah. A quick note from the second division, as Jack Walker owned Blackburn Rovers beat Leicester City in the playoff final to end their 26-year absence from the top division. They were managed by former Liverpool manager Kenny Dalglish, who in the Premier League's third season would win the league thanks to the players he would bring in using Walker's millions. One of the good, great stories, is it?
Yeah, I think it was seen as one of the first big. It was seen as a not a great story at the time, but you looking back, you kind of go, well, at least it's not Saudi,
Yeah.
Abu Dhabi millions, all this other kind of stuff. It's
And if
like,
they want to sponsor this show, that is fine.
yeah, that's fine. We'll tell them to shove it.
No, no, no.
Oh, you're
I'll take
fleecing out. You're going to be over there in your Newcastle Saudi Arabia shirt before we go to the next World Cup.
If they pay me. But yeah, it's why was that not a sustained era of success if they got the money pumping in and good manager in Dalglish and winning the Premier League title?
I think it was seen as he'd take like the owner had put in so much money and taken them so far. The year after they win the Premier League is really because I think I want to say Dalglish's already gone by then. I think he says I've won the league. I'm gonna
Thank
kind
you
of
very
leave.
much, Kenny.
I know, yeah. And also I think I think Shearer and Sutton still played well, but the team just kind of fell apart straight away. I think they finished like mid-table or something in the Premier League, and Shearer still finished on about 1 million goals that year. So it wasn't like due to him not being any good anymore either.
Pre-Newcastle, obviously, and he kind of just put up with that, didn't he? He was just like, I will just score goals. Leave me to it. The
Yeah.
team doesn't matter
He's an
unless
absolute
it's England.
Yeah, he's an absolute monster at that point when it comes to like Blackburn. Like because you kind of see him as this player who's just going to elbow people and be an incredible goal scorer, but kind of all round playing. You forget how quick he was, and like when you see clips in like Premier League years, he's just like dominating teams, goals from like miles out as well. An incredible player.
Yeah, and it's almost that. Was he part of like the drinking culture?
I don't ever think he was seen as like a big drinker or anything. He was always seen as quite a boring bloke. I remember
Yeah.
seeing a quote from him when Blackburn had won the league. Again, you don't know how real this is about, oh, I'm going to go home and emulsion my fence or something like that. And it was just like, it's just like, is that even real? Kind of like, but yeah, but I don't think he was ever part of that, if I'm honest. I think he was just seen as like, I mean, I'm assuming everybody was in some part of like a drinking culture.
Yeah.
I think it was just like diet and stuff hadn't got in yet because I think David Ginola at Newcastle was told, "Oh, you've got to stop smoking" or something like that. And then on the way back from a game, they all stopped at a fish and chip shop, and he was like, "Well, what do you expect me? This
I
is
don't
like,
want fish and chips.
Yeah.
I just want a fag.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I've heard that
I've made
story.
my choice."
Let's have a look then at the build-up to today's game, starting with England.
Yes, starting with England and starting with Mr. Graham Taylor being appointed, and yes, I mean, again, we just always want to see a bit of Graham Taylor, and I think today we wanted to take our time and actually look at his appointment too. We've got a game to cover as well, but actually a bit of time looking at why, though we say he was seen as the person for the job at the time as well. I think it's worth going into.
He began his managerial career with Lincoln before being attracted to Watford by Chairman Elton John.
Brilliant.
I know, yeah, there's a lovely photograph we've got here of. I mean, that's some unveiling for a manager.
I don't know if that's the unveiling for when he's the manager. We'll definitely share that one on
Was
the
it just-
socials.
There's a big crowd, and then there's Elton John and Graham Taylor. Maybe they're just there for Elton John.
Like he's doing a gig there, and Graham Taylor's turned up.
Yeah,
like when Neil Warnock turned up to the Elton John gig as well.
Did he?
Yeah, there's a one where my friend told me this when he went to go see him at Cardiff years ago, and he was just like, Elton John was like, I've got a very special person here with me today, and he's been so kind to me. I can't even tell you how lovely he has been. It just made me feel so welcome here, and I just want to say, thank you so much. And my mate was like, oh my God, like who's this?
Yeah, yeah.
Like, oh my, is Mandela back? And like he just like Mr. Neil Warnock, and like the screen just cut, and he was in like the VIP bit, just
Alright.
waving.
Yeah. No way.
Yeah.
Amazing. Taylor, in his time with Watford, would revolutionise the club. And in 10 years, he took them from the 4th division to the top division. During this period, Watford would finish second in the league, reaching an FA Cup final. And they would also go into their only ever European campaign thus far.
Yeah, thus far. The Hornets could be back there still, and whoever the hell their manager is right now, no way of knowing because it changes every week.
Yeah. Oh, God, he'd hate to see it, wouldn't he?
Yeah. What, Taylor?
Yeah.
I think, well, he went back at some point as well, and I think he did all right. I'm pretty sure he got them promoted when he went back as well. So he's always, but again, they're just yo-yoed, aren't they? And I guess he yo-yoed with them at a certain point too.
Yeah, I mean that was a 10-year spell, and by the time that came to an end, we've gone from 1977, punk rock, rah, and all that stuff, and we're in 1987. The world has changed.
Yeah.
Watford as a football club has changed, and Graham Taylor's got a very good reputation because he's appointed as Aston Villa manager, although they had just been relegated.
Yeah, he's taken over like seen as one of their worst periods. It's not long after
Took a
they.
challenge on, really.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's not long since their European Cup win either. In like 80, when I say 80, in 80, I think it was that they won the European Cup. So, like, 7 years later, they get relegated.
So he's going in to try and resurrect a sleeping giant.
Yeah, pretty much seen as the person who could do that from taking Watford, as you say, from the fourth to the first division. It's big job for him.
And he does get them back to the first division at the first attempt.
Yeah,
Tell you what, he's no joke, is he?
yeah,
He's not a man who's come. Even we've not even got to. We're not even completed his pre-England career yet. But that's a CV.
yeah,
That's absolutely like perfectly strong CV.
Yeah, absolutely. And 2 years later, after he is promoted with Aston Villa, they competed with Liverpool for the league title, falling away towards the end of the season, but still finishing second. So
Yeah.
within 3 or 4 years of Villa being relegated, they're back amongst it and there for a title almost.
Would this class? This is quite. I'm not sure what the answer would be, but would this class as one of the better managerial records for an Englishman taking on the job?
Up to this point, probably. I think Robson had done well at Ipswich, who was the predecessor to Taylor. I think it would have been, who was the West Ham manager that took over? Ron Greenwood, wasn't it?
Ron Greenwood.
That's him.
Greenwood.
Yeah. I think he'd done well at West Ham. Obviously, he'd been there for a long time, and he kind of was not not West Ham manager anymore. Don Revie had done really well, in fairness, winning league titles, and I think you're back to Ramsey back then. I'm not really sure what Ramsey did in his club career.
Maybe Revie. I mean,
Revie's the one, really. You go.
That's a strong CV.
Yeah.
Yeah, but fair play to Taylor. I mean, yeah, we've spoke about before how people view him through a strange prism because of all the jokes and everything like that. But an exciting English manager,
Yeah.
and with the squad having just come off the back of, I mean, what were we in 1992 now? So what, 18 months before this, they would have been in Italia 90.
Yeah. So the England managerial job had sat with Bobby Robson, as mentioned, who before Italia 90 had signed a deal to become PSV manager.
Love that. Love those weird sideways moves.
Well, yeah, that's sideways one, but it's also like as we've seen, he was clearly hounded out by the press a lot of the time as well, and called a traitor. I remember for when he signed the PSV thing. So, well, you've got to win the World Cup or you're sacked. And he was like, well, I'll just leave. Then I'll go somewhere people appreciate me.
Yeah. So yeah, let's look at the appointing. How Taylor, we've seen his club record, what attracted him into the conversation, but how does he actually go about getting the job? Who was he up against?
In terms of candidates, there was a few names in the hat who didn't quite make the shortlist. So, firstly, Brian Clough. We've just got to mention him because whenever we talk about someone getting appointed and who was talked about, his name would always come up.
Is he like head in a jar at this point? And just like
Futurama.
Yeah, kept alive by like weird electronics.
Most likely. I mean, while doing that, he is still manager of Nottingham Forest.
Oh my god!
At this point, roughly 20 years of speculation around here.
Yeah.
But he's kind of in the final throes of his days at Forest. In the following year, in the first year of the Premier League, he ends up being relegated with Forest and kind of retires as his final thing as well. So they're still at that point. We're talking about him being the relevant manager, but I think they'd maybe won like a League Cup every now and then, but they'd not hit the heights of league titles and European Cups for 7 or 8 years, 9 maybe either.
Well, the Impossible Job would have been a very different film.
Oh my God, yeah. Could you imagine that?
Another candidate was Mr. Terence Venables.
Yes, Mr. Very Terribles.
Have you ever heard that before?
What, Terence Venables?
No, calling Terry Venables.
Oh,
very terrible.
Yeah, some people used to say that, yeah.
I don't know.
I think it came from when he was at Leeds and he was really bad. But
Right.
but that was more of the shit show that was Leeds.
It's one of those things that just live in my head rent free, and I don't know where it's come from. But if I ever hear his name, I always think it's funny.
Yeah, there's a pun. There's a little changing of his name. Yeah, and we.
So was he dreaming about the?
Well, if he can dream.
If he can dream, was he dreaming about adding that second star?
Kind of. You're never really sure what Venables is up to at this point. So we remember Venables from the Impossible Job episode, where he pretty much says the England job was appealing to him after Taylor leaves, but was before Taylor gets it, was even less so when he's sacked. And in 2 weeks' time, I think it was, he takes the job. So clearly it's fine for him then. But
Yep.
at this point in 1990, He'd been at Tottenham for 2.5 seasons, finished third the season prior to Italia 90, and had already won a league title with Barcelona. So a pretty good CV. You think, well, why is he not interested then?
Maybe it's he's too good.
Too good. Well, he says it's because he was he was
Good.
too settled, basically. So
I thought you were going to say too sexy.
too sexy for the stars.
Yeah.
Yeah, Venables wasn't interviewed for the England job at this point, and in his autobiography, which had to be pulled by Lord Alan Shearer and his legal action against him, he stated he didn't know why he wasn't approached, apart from the idea he seemed so happy and settled. Sounds like utter BS, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think the reason was maybe the big brass band era was like in decline at this point, and he's thinking, well,
Yeah.
what's the point of being an England manager if I can't do the swing classics to accompany? I'm going to sit that out and get double bang for my buck.
Yeah, I'm gonna wait this out until. I mean, does it come back in '94? Is Big Swing back in, or is it right? It's now or never. I've got to bring it back.
I think that the need for the job overtook the need for the brass band then.
Yes.
And he's like, well, actually, maybe it's contractual.
Yeah.
I'll take the job now, but at some point in the future, if somebody like called Michael Bublé or something brings all this back, I want one single deal.
Is Venables before Bublé? Do we think?
I think they're adjacent.
Don't know if Venables had brought it back first.
No, I think Bublé was knocking about before Venables in terms of the hits.
Okay, covering Elvis songs and basically ripping them off as well.
Yeah, just doing them in that slow sort of pace with a big band.
Yeah.
Yeah. Venables was appointed chief executive at Spurs in 1991. So what's all that about?
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what's happened here. So he's football manager, but he has some sort of legal case with Alan Shearer at this point, where I think Venables is basically trying to wind up and actually dissolve one of Shearer's companies. We're going to cover it in a couple of weeks actually when we come on to it. But yeah, there's a reason behind all this why he doesn't get the job, but we think it's just because of the dodgy dealings that were going on and just some really weird stuff. But according to Terry, it's because he was too happy at Spurs.
Well, who were the final three? The big list.
Yeah, the three men who did make the interview were Taylor, Howard Kendall, and Joe Royal. Big Mike Bassett. What about so-and-so at Merseyside? Yeah, but he's a bit of all that, isn't he?
Yeah.
It's just like, well, who the hell are we going to get now?
Yeah.
Brian Clough's a head in the jar. Venables is basically in prison. Like, it's just like, well, who else is out there?
Yeah, a young Steve McLaren.
He'd have so much hair, wouldn't he?
Hair Island.
Yeah, Hair Island is not even visible yet. It is totally under the water.
Before global warming.
Yeah.
Joe Royal, one of the names there, was at Oldham at the time and had yet to manage a top-tier match.
Yeah, he did reach the League Cup final in 1990, but was kind of seen as not ready for it yet at this point.
What about Kendall?
Howard Kendall, even though he is keen on the job, refused to be interviewed for the position due to him being told the interview process was just a show so Taylor could be appointed.
Classic FA bullshit.
Yeah, let's
Just
not
appoint Taylor instead of making a show of interviewing 3 people.
I know, yeah. And as well, Kendall, on paper, kind of looks like the best out there of everyone considered. He'd won numerous league titles at Everton, as well as an FA Cup against Taylor's Watford and the European Cup Winners' Cup, and even went abroad to manage Athletic Bilbao. So, strangely, he'd also be in consideration for the Barcelona job that Venables ended up taking.
Fair play to him.
So this is the managerial merry-go-round overseas here too.
That's a strong CV again.
I think so, yeah, and I think as well, they were looking to, when they were looking to make the appointment, Kendall is at Man City at this point in mid-table, and Taylor is second in the league with Villa. So you kind of go, and they kind of go, really, who do we want more, the up-and-comer or someone who's kind of still finding their feet at their new club?
Taylor was approached then to become the England manager in June 1990. That's around the start of Italia 90. So just ahead of a tournament.
Yeah.
When they've already kicked up a fuss and made sure the manager is told, win the tournament or you're going to get sacked.
Yeah.
Basically. So he wasn't officially appointed until the 23rd of July, about 3 weeks after the tournament finished. Taylor took over at a time when the country was just getting a taste for the national side, as we mentioned a little bit earlier. Mm-hmm. Not only is he at the point of today's game, he's working with a national side that went quite far in a World Cup. It's also like a time of sort of positivity around the team.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the fanfare they got when they came back from Italia '90 was brilliant. It was that scene from Mike Bassett where they get off the plane and everyone's waving
Yeah.
and all that. I think on the parade on the way back, Gazza's got these big comedy breasts on with the stomach and all this,
Yeah.
and it's Gazza fever really. And with that, it goes. England have got knocked out on penalties in the semi-final. They'd finished fourth in the tournament, so they've got Taylor and Gascoigne together now to lead them into this new era of England and a real lot of hope and promise.
A lot of expectation. I'm sure he'll manage it. I'm sure the press will be fair and reasonable with him throughout his tenure. We're not covering the first game today. We're not going that far back into his back catalogue. But he did start well. There was only one loss in his first 15 games, which lead us up to today. His first game was a 1-0 home win against Hungary. And then it was back to qualification for Euro 1992. England's group consisted of Turkey, Poland, and old friends, the Republic of Ireland.
Yeah,
God, we played them a lot around this time, didn't
it
we?
is all the while. I think it's in like '88. It's at the World Cup. It's around now as well. I swear there's another couple of games in there too. It's strange where you get these rivalries that come along just for a couple of years and then they just disappear. I mean, I think last time England played Republic was in like the lockdown era of football.
Yeah.
And I guess
Yeah.
so much has kind of happened. There's no real reason to want to put that game on really. But it's probably even a worse state here. But I guess they're forced to by being drawn together when they can't help it here and drawn together at two different tournaments too. So it's probably not by choice they're playing each other in like friendlies either.
England started their campaign with a win at home to Poland before drawing 1-1 at Lansdowne Road versus the Republic. Another 1-1.
Yep.
Which is like we saw at Italia 90. England hosted the Republic of Ireland at Wembley in March 1991 in what's seen as a really uncomfortable night for England, with Ireland very much on the front foot, excuse me. But can I shock you? That ends 1-1. Ireland should have probably have snatched the win if reports are to be believed.
Yeah, it's seen as a really awkward night where England kind of seemed a bit scared of what Ireland were going to do to them, really.
I
And
mean, they play them enough times. They shouldn't be scared. They should know what's coming.
but they don't really beat them either. That's the thing. It's this Ireland side under Jack Charlton. They're the team that keep coming back to England. And Ireland won in '88. They drew at Italia '90. They drew at Lansdowne, and then this one as well. You think I think the Republic are the first team to ever win at Wembley as well. The first side other than England to do so in history.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, man, this could go bad if we're not careful.
Doesn't go so bad because England qualify for Euro 92 in Sweden.
Yeah.
They beat Turkey 1-0 at home and away, and a final day draw in Poland was enough to seal the deal. Congratulations, Graham.
Yeah, I mean, gone through it without really any scares. I mean, 3 wins, 3 draws. It's kind of that old adage of you don't lose away and you win at home. And I know they've not done that perfectly here, but enough to go through. I think they're 1 point ahead of the Republic and 2 ahead of Poland. So Turkey, the whipping boys in that group, finishing on 0 points and minus 13 goal difference.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Now, I wasn't aware of this, but you've done some digging,
Yeah.
and apparently there's a little shitty fake cup or a tournament.
Excuse me. That's not really a nice way to talk about the England Challenge Cup, I'll have you know.
Oh, what a stupid name.
So,
That's like back, I don't think they do it as much anymore, but like PS1 or PS2 era, you've obviously have FIFA and PES, but they would produce like really low level knockoff football games as well.
yeah.
And that would be like one of the only tournaments that you'd have on there, the England Challenge Cup.
Oh, yeah. I think you must have got it on Pro, because I think on Pro they had like maybe Umbro was like a sponsor on the food. So you'd have, we're playing the Umbro Challenge Cup or whatever it's called. But, during Euro 92 qualification, there was a few kind of fun trips. And there's 2 we're going to talk about here in the summer of 1991. It's said that Taylor hadn't won enough to be the England manager and be given such a top job. But, the England Challenge Cup, that's what he's after to really, shut everybody up and show that he can do it.
Yeah, that'll keep him quiet.
Yeah. Taylor's England marched to victory in the 3-team tournament.
Well, that's competitive, a 3-team tournament.
What more do you want? That's all. They're the only ones that wanted to step up to Taylor. That's what you've got to think about. In May 1991 against the USSR and Argentina. So 2 good teams, really.
Yeah.
England finished top after beating the USSR, and the other two games in the tournament finished draws. Silverware.
Yes, it's coming home. Links, please. We have to watch that. I want to see Graham Taylor lifting a trophy with England. Didn't we talk about that on when we were looking at pictures or something for the impossible job? And we're like, what is this picture of Alan Shearer? And no, it wouldn't have been Shearer.
I think that was the tournoi because he's just holding up this thing like, what is this? I haven't got to take this home with me, have I?
Did I really get the Le Tournoi mixed up with the England Challenge Cup?
The real trophy. Are you talking about the real trophy here?
Now, with a taste for silverware, Taylor's England scoured the globe for more to appease his newfound thirst, his bloodlust for trophies. After his first kill in the England Challenge Cup, he took England down under to play Australia and 2 games against New Zealand and 1 against Malaysia. But there was no silverware on offer. So England had to make do with a routine win over the Socceroos, 2 wins against the Kiwis, and a 4-2 thriller in Kuala Lumpur.
Just madness.
Against Malaysia, yeah.
Just
Kuala Lumpur.
Just playing all these games and going on a nice little jolly. Again, that is right. Can we put this on the expenses? Right, just got to put a few.
Yeah.
You're going to play whoever we've got, whoever turns up. Malaysia, yeah, that's them. We'll be fine.
Yeah, nobody's gonna know. Nobody's gonna know if just get me 11 Malaysians on that pitch. Gary Lineker helped himself to 4 goals on the night, that famous night in Kuala Lumpur, to get him to push himself ever closer to Bobby Charlton's all-time England scoring record. Taylor's only loss up to this point came in September 1991 at the hands of world champions and newly reunited Germany.
They're back together and they're good.
Losing 1-0 at Wembley to Karl-Heinz Riedler's goal. He doesn't have not much to say on that.
I think.
Come on, he's not going to beat Germany, is he? Let's be fair.
I mean, no one else does. You can't expect that would have been like his defenders the next day in the pub. Well, what do you want? No one else does it. And look, they've got 2 teams out there now.
I know. Look, we've just beat Kuala Lumpur and we've just won the England Challenge Cup. Some people are never happy.
Exactly. That's the point, isn't it?
So here we are. Euro qualification in the bag, along with all of that silverware and those frequent flyer miles, all the peanuts and all the cocktail umbrellas Graham Taylor can carry. I reckon he could carry 1,004 cocktail umbrellas.
Has he got a suitcase?
I'll let you decide that.
Where else is he going to put them?
Well, I don't want to know.
Yeah.
Let's have a look at today's opponents then. France.
Yes, we are back.
I'm just about to head off to France, actually, so
Yeah,
good bit of research.
Oh, here you go. You can tell them about this then.
Yeah, at this time then, 1992, 30 years ago, so 30 years later, they'll be thinking, there's this guy who's going to come over called Jord.
He's coming to a rock concert.
Yeah. France are managed by the once great, once disgraced, now cleared, but still very, very dodgy.
Yes.
Michel Platini. We've mentioned him before in the World Cup 82 episode.
Yeah, we have one of, if France is not their greatest ever player, and up to this point, their most successful as well. He'd won everything there was to win at club level and had, helped France to their only ever international title, really, in Euro 84.
Was that when he scored? Didn't he score a record amount of goals or something in one tournament?
I think he scored something like 8 or 9 goals in, like 5 games, I think it took to get to the final at that point as well. And that was, I think we said earlier, that was the record for goals in total over the whole idea of a tournament as well. So it was like, that's just in one tournament, and people over 5 tournaments didn't even get close to it.
Platini had retired from club football 5 years earlier while at Juventus and played his last game for France in April of that year. Like all good pros, he came out of retirement for one last match.
Shawn Michaels-esque, isn't it?
Oh, Ric Flair.
Well, he would represent Kuwait against the Soviet Union at the request of the Kuwait Emir, playing 21 minutes in a 2-0 loss. Dodgy.
Yeah. What's he up to there?
I mean, that is the first alarm bell for me of like, should you be doing this?
Is this man open for corruption?
Yeah, like, is this like, did you get a cap for it?
Yeah.
Like, if you look on his like Wikipedia or whatever, he's like 1 cap for Kuwait, because that shouldn't be allowed.
If he gets a cap for that, but Bobby Moore doesn't get a cap for the Team America,
yeah,
there's something wrong with the world.
Yeah, it's a disgrace, isn't it, really?
Yeah, that Kuwait versus the Soviet Union sounds dodgy.
Yeah.
What's wrong with Team America versus England? It was a bit of fun.
Yeah, just a bit of fun. Got Pele in there as well, which we'll come back to one day too. But
Can't wait for that.
I mean, what on earth is going on there? I mean, the curator Amir is talking to him to be like, "Yes, you come out of retirement and you come back with us." It's just
For 20 minutes.
21 minutes he was on the pitch. I don't know if that like he started or came off. I don't know what's worse. Like he just starts it, like a charity game where like
Yeah.
a really old person or a dog like takes kickoff and then just comes off.
I've done my bit.
Yeah.
After this little detour, Platini was appointed France's international manager on 1st of November 1988. After they'd drawn to Cyprus and in their chances of appearing at the World Cup in 1990. So to qualify for Euro 92, France would need to play Czechoslovakia, Spain, Iceland and Albania. Platini's impact with the national side started slowly with a 2-1 win in Reykjavik, but they were soon on a roll and wouldn't drop a single point in qualifying. Standout wins came against Spain in February and October 1991. The team was headed up by the duo of Jean-Pierre Papin and Eric Cantona. 9 goals for Papin and 3 goals for the King.
The King, yeah.
King Eric Cantona. Talk to me about Cantona then.
He is a complicated lad at this point. Cantona's having a very odd career up to this point. He's around 26 as of today's game and had fallings out at every club he'd been at. In November 91, Platini's approached then Liverpool manager Graham Souness after a UEFA Cup game to tell Souness Cantona was available to buy from Nîmes. Souness declined to look into it further, saying he would have upset the dressing room with Cantona. Cantona then went on trial to Sheffield Wednesday, playing an indoor tournament for the club at the Sheffield Arena before Trevor Francis declined to sign him permanently. So he's gone from playing regular football for Nîmes and being a France international to playing basically a 5-a-side tournament in Sheffield.
Yeah, that's so weird.
I mean, we've got a picture of him in a Sheffield Wednesday kit, and he looks so strange because it's clearly an indoors and he's not got studs on.
Yeah.
He's just got trainers from the shop as well. And they just go, nah, we didn't see enough in this comedy game to sign him permanently.
Somebody's got to, right?
Well, that's the thing. He's out there and he's available for transfer. So Leeds United would sweep in and sign Cantona in January 92. So just a month before our game today to bolster their attack for their title running.
Wow. A month. So he's gone from playing indoor football, 5-a-side trials, being rejected, and in a month he's playing for France at Wembley.
Yeah, at Wembley. And Leeds would pay £1 million for the loan to make the deal permanently at the end of the season. So he's on loan from Nîmes at the moment, and then he signs permanently at the end of the season. He makes his debut for Leeds a few weeks before today's game. So he's really, fresh to English football, but have been pretty much kicked out of French football to the point where they're just like, we don't care what you do as long as you get out of here.
Let's look forward then. Let's look at the game. It's England versus France, Wednesday, the 19th of February, 1992 at Wembley Stadium.
International to fire the imagination of formidable France returning to Wembley after an absence of 23 years. They're a major attraction, of course, but extra interest and the raising of some eyebrows at Graham Taylor's team.
Quick little factoid for you.
Mm-hmm.
England and France come into this game ranked 2nd and 3rd in the world. Is that respectively?
Yes, so England are 2nd, France 3rd, yes.
Wow.
I mean...
Big deal, this friendly.
I think so. I mean,
we should probably sound more energetic about it.
I think it's because you look at that England team, who we'll get to in a second, and I think it's because they'd finished so well and had done really well in World Cup 90. Like you say, they'd only lost one game up to this point as well, so that you imagine their ranking is pretty good. France go from not qualifying for a tournament to winning literally every game, and I think they were unbeaten in like 2 years or something coming into this game too. So two, good sides, and you think, why? Why almost? Just like, and I don't think France have even played over here since like, I think Tyler in the commentary says it's like 30 years or something.
Let's have a look at the England team then. I'll take this one.
Okay.
In goal, Chris Woods. Our defenders are Rob Jones, Martin Keown, Des Walker, Mark Wright, and Stuart Pearce, who captains the side. In midfield, we have Jeff Thomas and Neil Webb, with Nigel Clough just in front of them. And in front of Nigel, we have Alan Shearer and David Hurst. On the bench, we have David Seaman, Lee Dixon, David Batty, Matt Letizia, and Gary Lineker. My first question is, Chris Woods,
Yeah.
does this mean, is the Shilton era over?
The Shilton era is done. I think he made an error in the Germany game in Italia 90.
Is it really over, though? Is he coming back?
Yeah, where's his mate?
I was going to say, what's his nemesis
Ray,
called?
Ray Clements, is it?
Ray Clements, I think so, yeah.
Ray Clements would so come back for another cap as soon as he's like hung up his boots and he's got there's like an interview in the Sun of like, I've retired, and then Clements just comes out of nowhere.
Yeah, what was the bicentennial keeper's name?
Oh, Rimmer.
Yeah,
Mr.
Jimmy Rimmer.
Yeah, Mr. Rimmer came out, didn't he? Yeah.
Well, none of those guys. It's Chris Woods. Congratulations. David Seaman on the bench.
Yeah, I think he's still breaking in at the moment as well. It's you think it goes from straight to Shilton to David Seaman, but David Seaman's kind of still finding his feet here, and Chris Wood's solid goalkeeper in his day. I think they do swap goalkeepers during the impossible job as well. So I think they're both vying. Oh yeah, they're both vying for the number 1 jersey at the moment.
It's a strong bench, really. David Seaman, Lee Dixon, David Batty, Matt Letizia, and Gary Lineker.
Yeah, it's seen as Taylor trying something different here and trying to experiment against a very, very good France side. You just don't expect to see Gary Lineker and Matt Letizia on the same bench, do you?
No, you don't. That's very true. They're very different caliber of gent.
Yeah.
So it's an experimental side. Any names on there that you have never heard of?
I didn't know who Jeff Thomas was, if I'm honest.
Jeff Thomas?
Yeah, I didn't know. I think he plays for Palace, or he played for Palace anyway. I didn't know who that was, if I'm honest.
Hang on. Oh no, I don't know who he was either. I thought he was a Wolverhampton lad for a second there.
Wolverhampton.
Born in Manchester. Got it completely wrong. Rob Jones, never heard of him.
He was a Liverpool. I think he makes it. It's his debut today, along with Martin Keown and Alan Shearer. So a first outing for Big Shearer.
Well done, Alan.
Yeah, you've
You've
in.
made it. You're in. I'm sure you'll be just fine here.
We've just covered one of his lows with the Portugal game, and then we're going right back to the start to see where it all began.
I think that was part of the reason for looking at this game as well. I think we've seen a lot of bad Shearer.
Yeah.
And this was by no means a guarantee of a good Shearer, but
Yeah.
it was young Shearer.
Yeah.
And I think the main issues we've seen with him in his later years is his kind of lack of mobility.
Yeah, and I think it's almost seen as a bit of a passing of the torch moment. They talk a lot in commentary about Gary Lineker and Alan Shearer. Maybe they'll play together in Euro 92, maybe they won't. But again, there's an embarrassment of riches. But you look at most of the players that aren't there and Taylor doesn't really consider. So Waddle's not considered at all under Taylor. Paul Parker's not around. And you also look at Peter Beardsley, who again he finished one of the top scorers in the English Football League. And he just goes, "No, you're too old. We're getting rid of you. We got David Hurst instead."
Yeah. Shearer's 21 years young here. Got off to an amazing start in his professional career, scoring a hat-trick on his full debut against Arsenal in 1988. That seems a long time ago for Shearer to be making a debut. Shearer in the 80s?
Yeah, it doesn't feel right, Shearer not being right at the front of the Premier League, does
Yeah.
it? It just feels like as soon as you get into, like, you think of Shearer, the earliest memory is him smashing it in for Blackburn. Him in his Southampton shirt just feels weird.
Of course, he hadn't scored a Premier League goal at this point because nobody had.
No, exactly.
He went with England's under-21s to the Toulon tournament in France, scoring 7 goals in 4 games. And I got off to such a great start that he's involved in the starting lineup today. It's almost that Rooney-esque, just forcing your way into the lineup and being like, no matter how good our older guys are, this kid has to play.
Yeah, definitely. And it's good that Taylor, he always went with youth and different players as well. And he's seen here as really wanting to bring him in. We don't really see him in the impossible job because I think he's injured for most of the tournament.
I mean,
the show anyway.
Is Harry Kane one of those players? Because I think of people like Rashford and Sterling and Grealish, and none of them are like, they've never got to the point where it's like, we have to start them, go straight in and look straight at home. Like the good international players and squad players, and they've had moments for England, definitely. Sterling been incredible, but he's had a longer career than the others. But other than Rooney, maybe Shearer, maybe Owen.
Players that you just couldn't deny anymore, and it was like you have to get them in the team because they're so undeniable.
Like early in their career as well, not like oh, he's got really good by the time he should hit his peak. He's going to start for a couple of years. Like, was Harry Kane that?
Well, I think he made his. I think I just saw the other day. It was 10 years since he made his Premier League debut, and he was.
I'm so old.
I know, yeah, but he's seen as like. You don't remember when he was seen as like a bit of a joke. Like he was kind of like a Forrest Gump kind of figure who'd be like afraid of lightning, And you just think, well,
Definitely remember that.
and I think he went on loan to Norwich and didn't do really well. He had a lot of loan moves. He went to Leicester and it never worked out. And he got a run in the Europa League, and he just thought, okay, maybe this is the moment. And he started playing in the Premier League, and he just kind of took off really. And I think it was around, is it Euro?
I think he probably had a more gradual,
Yeah.
because of Rooney, probably
Yeah.
the back end of his career. Anyway, a little sideshow there. Let's
Yeah.
have a look at France.
Yeah, France, they start in goal Gilles Rousset, and they play Anglemar, Bolly, Laurent Blanc, Cassoni, and Amoroso. They also have Didier Deschamps, Luis Fernandez, Christian Perez, Jean-Pierre Papin, and Eric Cantona.
And the bench.
Yeah, they have in the bench Silvestre, Durand, Simba, and Olmeta. Love, there's a guy called Simba in there.
Simba. Big names in there, really. Obviously, Cantona, as we've spoken about at length. Laurent Blanc as well, who'd have a long and storied career. Didier Deschamps, I mean, one of those rare, magnificent feats is that he would eventually, little did we know at this time, he would eventually lead France to World Cup glory as a player, and then many years later as a manager. And he's still the manager?
He's still the manager at the moment. Zidane just cannot get in there, can he? They never do bad enough, so Zidane gets that chance, do they? But you think maybe after Qatar, this is going to be the opportunity for them.
The reigning World Cup champions, aren't they?
They are indeed, yeah.
It's nowhere near bad enough then. To
But
let
they got knocked out by Switzerland at the
Yeah,
last Euros.
wasn't
And-
great,
and
was
it
it?
was, I remember at the time it was seen as, oh my God, what a national disaster that France have gone out so early. I mean, we were loving it. I remember being in the pub watching it, and I'm pretty sure I ordered a whiskey when it happened.
And he's been seen as somebody who potentially, I know they've done well and won the World Cup, but like people say he's not really that great, and the France team could be a lot better with a different manager. I think his tactics are quite defensive.
I think so, but it's seen still as that's international football at times. You have to just get through these stages, and what more can you want? He has won a World Cup, really, and yeah, you're not going to win everything, but you're criticizing the idea of like you got to get rid of this player, this manager, and he's literally won you the biggest thing he can win you in football.
Yeah.
And I think it's just always that today's culture is like, oh, we've got to get this person out, we've got to get the new person in, but it's just change it up now.
The dynamic duo up front, really, Cantona and European Football of the Year at this time, Jean-Pierre Papin.
Yeah, they're real, a strike force to be, seen and believed, really. Papin had done so well, as we say, European Football of the Year. And I think we just look at Cantona and just go, you look back and you go, oh, that's exciting. But at the time, it's kind of seeing like, he was playing for France, but he was never like really, really tearing it up. But as we mentioned as well, France unbeaten since the start, since 1989. They mentioned on the comms a few years previous, France had also played at Highbury against Arsenal. What?
No.
Yeah, and does international and club segregation mean nothing to these people?
Is that the Arsene Wenger derby?
Well, yeah, it's just like why are they playing Arsenal? Like
don't know.
people must have been there. I don't think it was just like a behind closed doors game. Just some, and again, it's weird that it's Arsenal because years later, as you say, it becomes such like a French filled place, really.
Yeah. We've got a little blast from the past in a sense as well of Gerard Houllier, who is Platini's assistant at this time. Apparently he was a teacher in Liverpool.
Yeah, I found that really strange. I think Tyler mentioned it on the commentary.
Again, he would eventually go on to get the Liverpool job.
He would indeed. Yeah.
And the Villa job.
And the Villa job. Well, I think he becomes France manager after Euro 92 as well, and has the famous falling out with David Ginola once they fail to qualify for that on the final day too.
Let's talk kits because the game is rapidly approaching. France are basically in a tracksuit.
Yeah, it's a shell suit, isn't it? Really,
Yeah, shell suit. Absolutely. I really like it though. It's one of the most 90s things I've ever seen.
Yeah, I think it's beautiful. That isn't it? It's got like a blue collar. It's white across the shoulders, and it's Adidas. But there's also like these red lines that go like just over the breast. You'd probably say.
Oh, the press.
Yeah,
England have got their Italia 90 strip still.
nice and shiny.
Haven't been bothered to get changed. Yes, still
Yeah.
so shiny. We'll wear this until the shine comes off.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, with that as well, it's kind of like 1990. They probably wore it in 89. That's a long time to have an international kit. We're used to them almost like every year, aren't we?
Yeah.
Which I think is better. I hate that a new kit comes out every year because you're always going to get a couple of stinkers because they haven't had enough time to design a new one.
Yeah. But then you don't want the stigma of a bad tournament kit taking you into a new tournament.
But I guess you could do it every 2 years because it's a tournament every 2 years. You almost have like a new kit.
So that they have new kits in between World Cup and Euros.
Maybe I feel like that England kit that came out before the last Euros. I feel that we've only seen them. I guess there was the pandemic in that time, so maybe they didn't release a kit.
Let's move on.
Yeah.
There are no anthems today, but we do get a look at the bench, an extended view of the bench, and it's a weird looking bunch, isn't it?
Yeah.
Players seem to be mixing in with the granddads. I think Matt Letizia literally looks like Rodney Trotter,
He does. Yeah.
and Gary Lineker Jr. is there, which is nice.
Yeah. But you also look. There's a guy that looks like Father Ted in there as well, like
Yeah.
this big, and it looks like that Father Ted episode where he's a football manager,
Yeah.
and he's got no hands. So he's got fake hands. Sorry.
As well as Gary Lineker Jr., which is, by the way, that's not really who's there. It's just he just looks so young. There's also Mick McCarthy Sr. by the looks of it as well.
Oh God, he's got big black eyebrows as well, hasn't he? But jet white hair.
Jet white.
Is he just dyeing his eyebrows? That bloke.
Nobody will notice.
No, but we've also got your mate Laurie McMenemy there on the bottom left too.
Yeah, talking shit.
who you-
Literally, you can see him just yapping on in someone's ear.
I think that's Alan Ball, and Alan Ball just like, oh God, I've got 90 minutes of this. Can I just get on the pitch or something?
Yeah. Put me in at left back. Let's get into the game then. Our commentators are Martin Tyler and Ron Atkinson. A nice team.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? I think Atkinson may have been. I think he was manager at Villa at the point, and it's far more normal back then to have an active manager on comms as well, or not or as a guest in the studio. I remember a Man United game in the 90s where they were going for the league against Keegan's Newcastle, and Keegan was in the studio talking about it and commentating. I mean, God, I wish you had that now. That'd be amazing, wouldn't it?
It would be incredible.
Although would they all just be too media trained?
Yeah, you don't know. Yeah, it would be.
You get the right one in there. Like, could you imagine like Conte commenting on like a Chelsea game?
That sounds good.
That's what you
That
want.
needs to happen.
We're just on the back of Conte Tuchel
Yeah.
round one recently, so I'd love to see that.
Immediately, Ron Atkinson declares that he's not impressed with France.
He does not like France at all.
That doesn't surprise me.
No. Atkinson says it's their first real look at France, and it'll be good to see what they're like playing in a match with real cutting edge. This is a friendly.
So that'll be another day then.
Yeah, well, it's like this is a friendly game, and Tyler immediately shoots him down with, well, they finished with a 100% record in qualification in some pretty, pressurized situations. We're 1 minute in. Could you imagine the look of disgust that Atkinson has, like, to Tyler of like, well, we'll see what they can do. Actually, I think you'll find they're really good, and here's what to back it up, and just like,
The Stuart Lee thing when he was on about talking to some taxi driver about something, they had a disagreement, and the taxi driver was like, "Well, you can prove anything with facts, can't you?"
yeah, that's exactly what this is, isn't it? And as well, neither of them have gotten Cantona's name right yet either.
That's a fact. My
Yeah,
God.
Tyler calls him Cantona,
Yeah.
which I like. And Atkinson is talking about which England defenders is going to pick up the French striker, and he says, and Keown is going to pick up Cantona. Like he takes like a big step and a breather to go, I've got to get this right.
We've also got Fernandez.
Oh, Fernandez is nice, isn't he? Yeah, Tyler just refers to him as that straight away instead of just Fernandez.
Yeah, the Premier League officials must have been thinking,
They're going to struggle.
yeah, Tyler, you really need to get a pronunciation book for foreign surnames.
Yeah, you can't just live on, and it's live.
Maybe you can.
Yeah, my body's still doing it 30 years later, isn't he? I heard the other day, apparently, that Martin Tyler got booed at a Manchester City thing to mark like the anniversary of the Aguero moment. And he got booed by the Manchester City fans
Why?
because apparently he's biased against them. And Liverpool fans think he's also biased against them. And
I hate it when people say that commentators or journalists or media are biased against.
if
the
you're
club.
like,
If it's somebody like Gary Neville or Jamie Carragher,
yeah,
maybe. But
who try and go over the top to not be biased, but they kind of go the wrong way around
Yeah.
it. Mika Richards, who just like you say, is openly just like, well, Man City are good, thank God, because I'd be forgotten about.
but there's I can't even.
But
I
it's,
can't
but it's when
even-
you get like the ones who are clearly trying to be neutral. I mean, I think Tyler's like a Oxford or Cambridge fan. It's
Yeah.
like, what the hell does he care about like any of the rest of this? But it's like, oh, fine, just get on with it.
the strange occurrences keep piling up. We see Alan Shearer covering up his guns.
Ugh. He's got long sleeves on. A young Alan Shearer, like a child, he's got long sleeves on. I feel sick looking how young he is as well. It's just wrong. I don't think I've ever seen him in long sleeves. How cold is it at England tonight?
I know, yeah. Well, it does look like a cold night. February, I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Quite a few England players, and they weren't really registering for me.
No.
It was hard to pick what was going on because I was like, who's that? Who's that?
There's lots.
That can't be Alan Shearer.
There's lots of brown bowl cuts going on here, but not bowl cuts yet around the back. It's just like we've got a fringe,
Yeah.
and we're going to keep this, and everyone's got this same haircut pretty much. It's very hard to distinguish who's who. I think Neil Webb impresses me. I think he kind of one of the few players that stands out really. But I kept getting Pearce and Wright confused because they're both just throwing themselves into massive tackles and injuring people.
Pearce is the one throwing himself into big tackles and injuring people with a captain's armband on.
Oh yeah,
That's a good differentiator. So yeah, the captaincy is kind of a big deal in the impossible job, isn't it? And Stuart Pearce would be captain on and off for quite a few years. There's definitely bits in the impossible job where he's like, everything will be fine once I get Stuart Pearce back as my captain. And he comes back and he's like, you're not captain.
no. Well, I think at one point he's like, "Oh, Stuart Pearce is coming back." Then doesn't he fly to tell David Platt, "I'm taking it off you," basically, because we're doing bad, but you're being incredible.
Yeah.
Actually, there's no David Platt. There's no David Platt. There's no Gascoigne in this game either. Just like, what's Taylor
Three
doing?
cheers for the England B team.
No, yeah.
It's Stuart Pearce's 44th appearance for England at this point.
Yeah, and it seems a lot for 1992. That's a lot of caps in that period, especially as he only wins another 34 in the rest of his international career. So,
Yeah, and that career runs until 1999.
yeah, so we're over halfway through our Pearce international career in 92. That's crazy.
It is crazy. We hear that David Hirst has always been a strong player, but that his pace has improved over the last 3 years. This is Ron Atkinson telling us that.
Okay.
Is that a bit of a rarity?
That someone gets quicker as they get older. Maybe he was just massively overweight.
Yeah, maybe a strong player, if you know what I mean.
Oh, yeah, he's a strong boy, this one, isn't he? Yeah, he's country strong.
So, what do you think of the game?
Not very good.
Not very good.
Yeah, we've delved into the 90s, a little bit, but not really this early on. So I'm unsure if this is like Graham Taylor football or just football at this point, because it's a lot of. I wouldn't even say there's a lot of long balls, but there doesn't seem to be a lot going on the pitch either.
I was expecting a bit of a duffer.
Yeah.
And I had one eye on TV and one eye on my laptop. And every time I glanced in the first 10 minutes, the ball was just flying through the air with nobody around it, back towards a goalkeeper.
Yeah.
I didn't see it on the ground at all, or even like under control by anyone.
No, it doesn't feel like it, because I think England have allegedly a lot in their possession at the start, basically.
Okay. Yeah.
But like they just, like you said, they just boot it upfield, and we've already seen the most long ball game ever in the Italia 90 Ireland game, but I think this would rank second, I'd say.
So far, definitely. Atkinson then starts to. We've already what's the word? Already gathered basically that he's not too impressed with the French.
No.
He kind of goes on the offensive, doesn't he?
Yeah, there's a lot of talk of we and these, which is
The France mob.
yeah, which is a bit scary, really. After around 25 minutes, he's changed his tune about France, though. He likes what he's seen, saying that England are now underdogs.
Yeah.
So they're ranked above France in the world. They're the underdogs at Wembley against France. And he said they're always going to struggle against these. He also says if this was a competitive game, Taylor would have brought off one of the central defenders and brought on David Batty at this point.
At this point, brought him on now.
Yeah, 25 minutes in, if this was a competitive game, Taylor would have gone, I'm bringing on David Batty, because what have I done? I didn't realise this was a friendly.
Maybe if he's still a serving manager at this point, he's trying to just, nobody's going to like listen to this and try and glean what I would do from a situation. So I'm just going to put batshit theories out there.
Yeah, he does go a bit crazy in this, because he's very, very much like, well, this is what you do. It's like he's giving everybody a guide to what managers do, but he's not really giving us any useful information at the same time. Like, he wants us all to know that he is a manager, but at the same time, he's not giving anything away, like you say. But he also says that the lesson that these England players are being taught by France in this game is better than 1 million training sessions.
Yeah, I think the FA need to look into that because it's not cost effective. Surely the cost of 1 million training. I don't think England have had 1 million training sessions in the history of the national team.
No.
And why bother with creating, all this equipment, buying all this equipment in, getting coaches and what have you. Just keep playing France.
Yeah.
Keep playing France. 2 games is worth 2 million training sessions.
Yeah. So I think, St. George's Park, knock it down. Just get a direct line to France, basically, to Paris, and we'll be fine.
I didn't know you were able to put a a numeric actual precise calculation to that to how much a game against France is worth compared to a training session, which is quite interesting. I'm gonna say it. Algeria levels to this game.
You've broken the glass. You've done it. You've broken the Algeria glass.
Nothing's coming off for anyone. France probably the better side as they can string a couple of passes together.
Yeah, I'd pretty much agree with that. Tyler calls Cantona the problem child of the French game, which is, it's a bit forgotten really when we think of Cantona, because we always think now, personally, I think of him from Leeds to Manchester United and being the force he was there. But really, he is an outcast at this point. And I didn't like seeing him in the number 11 shirt either. I felt it was weird.
It was weird.
Yeah.
France's left back has been fine. But I guess in this context of this game, fine is really impressive.
Yeah, he's constantly up and down the pitch, isn't he? Even running through the middle of the park at points to really challenge England. England really struggle to keep the ball and don't create any chances a lot in this first half. We do get something from Atkinson when he says that Stuart Pearce is clearly the best left back in the world. And you're just like, all right, that's a bit of a big shout. And then later on in the game, like when Amoruso is doing a lot of good stuff, he's like, well, clearly, he's up there too. But, our Stuart, and it's a lot of us again, isn't it?
It's a struggle, this game.
Yeah.
We're trudging on towards half time, and then
Job there for someone to come and grab. Lee Dixon's been the man in possession, but by his own admission hasn't been playing too well recently for Arsenal. Clough with the corner. Rousset started to come. Wright got to it. And Shearer! Alan Shearer has brought to the full international his goal touch from the under-21s. And a great boost for England right on half-time. Spinning and scoring with some style.
Just for a minute, Martin, after Mark Wright heads this down, from the back we just see the number 10 shirt appear, and for a minute you would swear behind that was Gary Lineker, wouldn't you? That's a magnificent start for him.
Well, he hasn't played a complete half at this level, but he's already got his first goal.
oh,
That was nice.
That was nice. That was nice. This lad has some potential.
He's just got to get rid of those long sleeves.
Yes.
And we can all get behind him then, can't we?
Young Alan Shearer, run us through the goal, please, Nick.
Yeah, it's a lovely swivel from Shearer to score his first goal for England on his first start, on his debut. There's a corner that comes in and Mark Wright gets a header towards goal. Shearer's kind of coming away from the goalkeeper towards the ball, and in one movement, swivel thumps it into the net. Very smash and grab from England, just getting a goal right on half time.
Swivel thump is a great word.
We'll see if we ever get the chance to use it again. Let's try and see if we can get a game where we use it.
Yeah, it's a very Shearer goal in its own way, isn't it? It's just like, yeah, the ball's going in. Look, it's not going to be conventional, but the goal has to be scored. It's been 45 minutes. I need one. I really liked it. He absolutely wallops it.
He does, and it's from so close out, like close range too. Atkinson, which I've enjoyed hearing him just for the weird mannerisms and the weird things he comes out with, and he calls the goal a great psychological moment for England.
Oh yeah, this is one of my favourite parts of this game.
Yeah, a psychological moment, like he's got inside everybody's heads or something, or the England team have. I'm not quite sure what he's talking about.
What do you want straight after a psychological moment?
A goal.
I was going to say a break.
Oh yeah,
leave them wondering, like the shell shocked. What the hell is going on? Well, see you in 15.
Who knows?
Who knows? Yeah, so it's half time. Brilliant.
Yeah, it's been fine from England. I don't think they've been great at all. It's not a good performance, but yeah, the set piece goal from Shearer has really brightened things up, I think.
It's hard to imagine a more a friendly in February game than this. Haven't seen lots of Cantona either, which is disappointing. But come on, big Graham Taylor leading England to a half-time lead against one of the best teams in the world.
Yeah, and it's, again, a team had not lost in years and years as well. And you just think, well, yeah, maybe this is all going to be a lot of fun under Taylor, actually, when he gets his players back as well. Because, again, this is pretty much the full-strength French side, and it's a much-changed England team. I think the press beforehand, when he announced the team, had really criticised him for it as well.
Let's get on with the second half then. Changes?
Yeah, half-time change from Taylor. David Hurst is off, poor David Hurst, for Gary Lineker. So Shearer and Lineker playing together for the first time, obviously, with Shearer's debut. Nice treat.
England sit back and put together a nice break near the beginning of the first half. Lineker plays in Jeff Thomas, who beats the offside trap, has only the keeper to beat. And what does he do?
He tries a chip and it squirms away to nothing.
A really bad chip.
It is pathetic. It's a nice little move. And he is so alone as he's on goal. And then it's just like, what on earth? I was trying to think. It reminds me of an actual
chip.
A good goal.
Oh, okay.
I couldn't think of the good goal. I remember maybe seeing.
Is it a Rooney one? I can see somebody turning round and opening their arms in that sort of Christ-like position. Isn't that Cantona?
I don't think he runs through one-on-one with a chip in this area. I think actually it may have been. I think David Beckham scored one in the Community Shield. It's a great over the top from Cantona. And I think the Newcastle keeper comes out and he's just like, right, thank you. And he just chips it over. And yeah, Jeff Thomas.
Beckham would chip you. He wouldn't eat a chip.
Oh, yeah.
But he'd chip you.
Yeah, oh, man. Do you remember Beckham's never eaten a chip, I reckon?
No,
Maybe
never.
when he was young on a night out on the way back. I'll see what the fuss is about.
Yeah. Atkinson says that this chance has shown us the frailties of the French offside trap.
I mean, he's jumped right back on them. As soon as England are winning, yeah, they're rubbish this lot, aren't they?
Is that a Last Shadow Puppet song? The frailties of the French offside trap.
Well,
I could imagine it being one.
You can tell Alex that when you see him next week, can't you?
In Paris as well.
Yeah.
France all game are making half chances.
Yeah.
I don't think, though, that they're really making a game of this.
No, there's just something a bit wrong and off with them, really, isn't there? It always feels like they're kind of the ball's coming across the front of the goal, it's just going into Wood's hand. It's just been a bit deflected, and yeah, they just don't really seem to get a break throughout the game.
England have looked better in the second half then?
Yeah, I mean, that psychological moment really has helped them out, hasn't it?
We're in the heads. I love the consistent use of psychological moment, and I think we should petition to rename goals psychological moment. What a psychological moment! That'd be amazing, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I think
that's so long to say.
Let's see if we get another goal, and that is it. We'll see what happens there.
That's a nervous breakdown if we do. After being exposed to the impossible job, we don't really get much Taylor, though, do we, in this game?
No, we don't. I kind of wish we had a camera on him constantly.
Up his nose.
Yeah, oh yeah, up his nose again straight away. Because someone is clearly in those clips, like lying down almost.
Yeah.
Underneath his feet, some horrible cam girl or something. And you just think what is going on? But here, I just feel it's weird that he's in the vicinity. He's in the impossible job, and we've just got no access to him. And I feel really cheated by that.
Lineker gets a chance now, right?
Yeah. England miss another chance, and it's another failed chip.
It reminds me of me on Pro. I know we've spoken about the fake shots in the past, but I love the chip.
Oh, yeah, you were a big chipper and a big fake shotter, weren't you? Yeah, this time it's Lineker through on goal, and his chip goes wide. And in disgust with himself, he looks a bit like Neil Morrissey. He's kind of got his arms just draped out, or like Kevin from Kevin and Perry or something. Just like he's pulling a strop that he's missed the goal, and he's like, oh, well, never going to get there.
Much better attempt at a chip, though.
Yeah, it was a lot closer. I think Atkinson was just I couldn't believe it, because Atkinson throughout the game keeps talking about bets as well. I'd have put my house on that. I'd have put some money on that. And it's just God, this is what everyone did back in the day. Betting was such a hobby instead of an addiction almost. It was oh yeah, well, I love the GGs, I do.
Yeah.
Atkinson would so own a horse.
A character trait.
Yeah.
So we are moving forward.
Yeah.
And we are moving forward in style.
Webb, that's a fine ball for Shearer. Lineker joined by Clough in the centre. It comes for Clough! And Lineker! Oh, and Lineker! 2-0. And whether he starts or whether he's a substitute, the outcome is still the same. There's still plenty of life left in Lineker.
2-0.
A crucial psychological moment.
Yes. What a psychological moment from Gary Lineker. I nearly called him Wayne Lineker.
Oh.
And it's a scrappy goal, isn't it, really? He's closing in on Charlton with this one. So it's a cross in from Alan Shearer.
Yeah.
We'll revisit that sentence shortly. Clough volleys an effort from around the penalty spot, straight at the goalkeeper who saves it, but it's spilled to Lineker, who dives and heads it against the bar past the keeper, but he bounces back, and while he's being wrestled to the floor, he just pops his head up and nods it over the line. I'll tell you what, if the volley would have gone in, that would have been a great goal.
Yeah, it was a lovely cross, and all of a sudden, like Clough is just on his own, like right on the penalty spot, and it is right at the goalkeeper. But yeah, he's like Lineker almost comes up for breath the way he's being wrestled, doesn't he? And just kind of like a seal, like nods it in.
Beautiful ball from Shearer is uttered by the commentator, and I thought, I didn't expect to hear that.
Yeah, Atkinson keeps going like he's got something about him, this lad, hasn't he? This Shearer,
the lad Shearer, he calls him.
Oh, it's horrible.
Talk to me then about Lineker edging towards Bobby Charlton's record with this goal. I thought that didn't he stop after Italian 90?
No, so he carries on, and it's after Euro 92, Lineker retires, because I think in Euro 92, in a big crunch game, I think Taylor brings him off because he's just not involved in the game at all. I think he comes on, and Alan Smith of Arsenal comes on for him, and he's seen as like, bloody hell, if I'm not even getting like in this point, and he is getting on in age at this point, and they're just trying to almost like not have games for him to break the record. But it's talked about here like, oh, he's definitely going to break the record. It's going to happen at some point.
Do you think that happened with Rooney? Did we sneak in sneaky? I think the qualifying.
I think qualifying
took care of it.
Yeah, qualifying just goes on forever, doesn't it? With England, if he only played tournaments, he'd be nowhere near it. But yeah, he always scored in qualifying, and I think with Lineker, I think he plays a game. They play a game against Brazil, and he gets a penalty, and he misses the penalty, and that was to equal Charlton's record.
Oh,
but yeah, it's one of those where you just think what could have been. But yeah, an incredible achievement for Lineker. Even if he never quite gets there, it's like planting a tree you'll never see grow up almost.
France come close finally, but somehow they don't make it 2-1.
Yeah, somehow there's an effort from the substitute Simba, so Simba's on, brilliant. Who thinks he's slotted it into an empty net after confusion between Keown and Woods. It hits the post, trickles across the line, and Papan can't beat Woods to it, unfortunately.
Yeah, Woods is definitely kicked into the goal, so the ball goes behind the line. And that kind of leads to the next phase of this game, which is a bit of aggro.
Yeah, it's a bit of it gets a bit fighty after this. Cassoni is unhappy he doesn't get a foul, and Webb is about to take a throw in for England. And Cassoni just decides to karate kick him in the stomach. It was just so shocking seeing this like aggressive moment.
Yeah, it was. It's not friendly, is it? That wasn't very friendly.
No, but again, it's only like a throw in. I think that he's not got there, and Webb goes to take it, and he's just off the ground, like leaping towards him to not take the throw in. Like you could just like put your hands up and block it or something like that.
It's a cool cut kick. He gets quite high.
I mean, it's something about the French in this, isn't it? A couple of years, Cantona would be doing this as well. So maybe it's something in like the zeitgeist that it's just cool to do this to people.
Kick.
Yeah,
just kick it. The Nike motto.
Yeah. Just kick him.
Big Ron. I think that's totally out of order. That.
Oh, he loses his head like totally at this point. Like the play goes on, and like he goes, "I'm still thinking about that kick." If I'm honest, this isn't really a dirty game, and it's somehow only a yellow that as well. So Cassoni doesn't even go off, and Atkinson just doesn't even talk about anything else like the rest of the game. It's like it's not even been that kind of game. What's he been playing at?
You got wound up, I'd imagine, by the rugby music that we hear.
Oh, yeah. They keep talking about like rugby union. England have beaten France in some competition I don't care about. And during the game, Swing Low Sweet Chariot comes on, as in like the fans start singing it to the few French that are there and the players. I'm just like, oh, can we not do this?
Nick hates rugby.
Yeah.
Hashtag.
Not into it at all. Papan misses a one-on-one with Woods as well, and we barely even get a replay of it. And Atkinson keeps going in on the karate kick, saying that if this was in the English league, the FA would be looking into that as well.
Oh my! Let it go.
I know.
Let it go, Ron. Because there's not really much more to say.
There's
really
not.
Isn't. The game starts to fizzle out, and everyone starts to get themselves ready.
Well, Graham Taylor is entitled to be a very satisfied manager indeed. Let's just have another look at how wide Cantona was, but he got his critics this morning in the national press run for messing about with the side, but the scoreline tells it all.
Yes, he'll be encouraged. New players and new young strikers come in and looks as if he's got an international career for a long time to come. And the other thing that will encourage him, Martin, is the fact that one of our biggest competitors in Europe, in Sweden, France, looked as if they don't have the teeth for a big competition.
Well, England have become the first country to beat France in almost 3 years. The goals from Shearer and from Lineker justifying Graham Taylor's team selection. And 4 months away from the meeting in Malmo in the European Championship, what psychological advantage can be gained from such an occasion as this is undoubtedly...
Taylor's just getting himself off now, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's just collecting all of his cocktail umbrellas.
Yeah.
He's keeping because it cuts to him and he's just like got his gloves in his lap.
He's like,
He's like ready on a train. Like, right, it's the next stop.
yeah, or he's patted his thighs and he's gone, right then, we'll be off.
Yep, got me cigarettes. I mean, don't know if he smokes, but in them days it wouldn't have been a phone, would it?
I don't think you needed to smoke in those days to have cigarettes. You should just have them on
Yeah.
you all the time.
Like in prison.
Yeah, in case somebody around you wants one.
Yeah, always have a light on you.
Yeah. A good win.
Yeah. And we've kind of slightly glossed over the game, and it's a good win for England.
It's a
It's
shit game.
shit game. England kind of do get better as the game goes on. I think they almost kind of run more than France in like a weird way of like, well, why would that matter? But they kind of run more and out tackle and outwork France, who seem to be the better footballing side. Again, their first team against a bit of a let's call a scratch England team.
Shearer and Lineker with the goals.
Shearer and Lineker with the goals on either side. Nice bookend, the start and the end of something almost, isn't it?
Exactly. It is actually the end of the line for a few England players. This would be David Hirst and Jeff Thomas's final appearances for their country.
Yeah, Atkinson during the games when I don't think Thomas is bought off, but he misses that chance, and David Hirst is bought off, and then both he's like, don't worry, he'll get another chance. They never do.
After this, England start to set their sights on Euros domination with the upcoming Euro 92 tournament, where they would be drawn in a group with Sweden, hosts Denmark, and France.
They're back.
They're back.
I think the draw's already been made when this game happens as well, because they keep saying, oh, well, this will be a good test for the summer,
Yeah.
don't they?
Yeah. I think if you've got a friendly booked against someone who you're in a World Cup or Euros group with a couple of months later, you should cancel that friendly.
Yeah, what's the point? Just play literally anybody else in the
Anybody.
world apart from these games. But it's like, well, it's already been booked in. The hotels have been paid for. Like Walter Winterbottom's doing it or something.
That is probably legitimately the reason, though.
Yeah, he'd done it like back in like 1950 some odd. He's like, right, I've got to book France's hotel for this now. So we can't let him down now, can we?
Would you say that this game was England? Is this England?
Not particularly to me. I don't feel like this is England, but what we are is we are on the road to the promised land with peak England Graham Taylor, aren't we? We're very excited about this now.
This train is going to run and run. To me, it's the sort of friendly England would usually lose. But for a game between the top two sides, well, two of the top three sides in international football, it massively underwhelms. But we won, and Graham Taylor was there. We've had a lovely time.
Exactly.
Thank you all for listening.